Mama Funke was a food vendor known far and wide for her delicious meals in the bustling town of Ijebu-Ode. She had a small roadside stall near the marketplace where the aroma of her cooking could draw even the busiest trader away from their wares. Her food was legendary, each dish seasoned to perfection, each portion generous enough to satisfy the heartiest of appetites. Yet, there was one rule that every customer had to follow: no one was allowed to bring their own plates. At first, this peculiar rule seemed like a mere quirk. Some thought it was simply a means to maintain cleanliness. Others assumed it was to keep order at her busy stall. But as time went on, whispers began to spread throughout the town. People noticed strange things happening to those who frequented Mama Funke's store. Regular customers, once full of vigor and life, seemed to grow weary, their businesses failing, their fortunes dwindling, and their smiles faded. It was as if an unseen force was leeching away their joy and success. One day, a young man named Adekunle decided to investigate. Adekunle was a curious soul, always eager to solve the mysteries that others dare not approach. He had watched his uncle, a prosperous trader, become a shadow of himself after regularly eating at Mama Funke's store. Determined to get to the bottom of this mystery, Adekunle devised a plan. He will go to Mama Funke's store, but unlike others, he will bring his own plate. On the day of his visit, he tucked a small clay plate under his agbada and made his way to the market. When he arrived, the aroma of Mama Funke's food was even more tantalizing than he remembered. He joined the queue and waited patiently. As he reached the front, Mama Funke, a woman with a warm smile but sharp eyes, noticed his hidden plate. "Ah, Adekunle Kabo," she greeted him. "Why do you have your own plate? Do you not trust my wares?" "I trust your food, Mama Funke," he replied with a smile, "but I prefer my own plate. It is a gift from my late grandmother, and I use it for special meals." Mama Funke's smile tightened. "I'm afraid that won't do," she said firmly. "Everybody must eat with my own plate. This is my rule." Adekunle insisted, but Mama Funke was unwavering. She even offered him a free meal if he used one of her plates, but Adekunle politely declined. Sensing trouble, Mama Funke relented. "Very well, have it your way," she said. Adekunle sat down, his plate in hand, and waited to see what would unfold. That evening, Adekunle followed Mama Funke home. He kept a safe distance, careful not to alert her to his presence. The path she took was winding, leading deep into the forest that bordered the town. There, hidden among the trees, was her home, a modest hut that appeared ordinary from the outside, but Adekunle knew better than to trust appearances. He waited until nightfall, watching from behind a large iroko tree. Soon, Mama Funke emerged with a large, mysterious bowl in her hands. It was unlike any other he had seen before, made of dark, gleaming wood with strange carvings that seemed to move under the moonlight. She walked towards a nearby stream, placed the bowl in the water, and began chanting softly. Her voice slowly and rhythmic. The water around the bowl began to bubble and swirl. Adekunle watched in shock as the bowl seemed to glow from within. Shadows danced across its surface, and he could hear faint whispers emanating from it. Then he saw something that sent chills down his spine. Mama Funke took a plate from her stall, the very plate she had insisted her customers use, and began washing them in the bowl. As she did, the water seemed to darken, and a strange mist rose from it, swirling around Mama Funke like a strange fog. Suddenly, Adekunle understood. Oh, the bowl was enchanted, filled with dark magic that stole the destinies of those who ate from the plates washed within it. The more Mama Funke washed, the more the mist grew, wrapping itself around her. He realized this was how Mama Funke had built her fortune, by draining the successes and destinies of her customers. Determined to put an end to her wickedness, Adekunle decided to return to the village and share what he had seen. But as he turned to leave, he accidentally stepped on a twig, the noise echoing through the night. Mama Funke's head snapped up. her eyes narrowing as she scanned the trees. She whispered a command, and the shadows around her seemed to come alive, darting through the forest in search of the intruder. Adekunle knew he had only moments to escape. He sprinted through the trees, his heart pounding as the shadows chased him. He could hear Mama Funke's voice growing louder, commanding the darkness to capture him. Just as he got to the edge of the forest, a shadow launched at him, grazing his leg with a cold, ghostly hand. But he pushed on, bursting into the open field and collapsing on the ground, breathless but alive. Back in the village, Adekunle gathered the elders and told them everything he had seen. At first, they were skeptical. After all, Mama Funke had been a part of our community for years. Her generosity was well known, but Adekunle was persuasive. He reminded them of all the misfortunes that had befallen those who ate regularly at her stall and how they seemed to lose their vibrancy and luck over time. Intrigued and concerned, the elders decided to investigate. They waited until the next evening, following the same path Adekunle had taken. As night fell, they saw Mama Funke approach the stream, carrying her enchanted bowl. They watched in horror as the scene unfolded just as Adekunle had described. The sinister mist, the glowing bowl, the dark water. It was all true. The elders knew they had to act quickly. They devised a plan to confront Mama Funke and destroy the bowl. With the help of the spiritual leader of the village, Baba Orumila, they prepared a powerful counter charm to break the enchantment. That night, they approached Mama Funke's hut, chanting prayers and wielding charms of protection. Mama Funke, sensing their presence, tried to flee, but the elders were prepared. Baba Orumila raised his staff, chanting words of power. The shadows that had once obeyed Mama Funke now turned against her, wrapping around her arm and legs, holding her in place. The elders moved swiftly, pouring a sacred concoction into the enchanted bowl, which immediately began to sizzle and smoke. The dark mist rose one last time, breathing in the air before vanishing into nothingness. With the bowl destroyed, Mama Funke's power vanished. She fell to the ground, weeping. As the villagers looked on, torn between anger and pity, Baba Orumila stepped forward, his voice stern but compassionate. You have stolen from your own people, Mama Funke. You have taken what is not yours and used it to prosper. But your wickedness ends today. The villagers decided to banish Mama Funke from Ijebu-Ode. Stripped of her magic, she was no longer a threat. As she left the village, the sky began to clear and a new dawn broke over Ijebu-Ode. The villagers, their spirits lifted, celebrated their victory over darkness. The town slowly returned to its former self. The shadow that had loomed over it now lifted. Adekunle was hailed as a hero, his bravery and curiosity having saved his people from a terrible fate. And so the story of the enchanted bowl of Ijebu-Ode became a lesson for all, a reminder of the dangers of unchecked greed and the power of community and light to overcome even the darkest of shadows. And from that day on, no one in Ijebu-Ode ever ate from a plate that wasn't their own. Years passed, and the story of Mama Funke's enchanted bowl became a well-known tale in Ijebu-Ode and beyond. It was told around evening fires and at family gatherings, serving as a warning against greed and dark magic. The village thrived once again with its people, living in harmony and prosperity. Adekunle had become a respected elder, known for his wisdom and courage. Life in Ijebu-Ode was peaceful until one fateful day. One evening, a young girl named Ifeoluwa ran into the village square, breathless and pale. "She's back!" she panted. "I saw her! Mama Funke is back!" The villagers gathered around her, their faces filled with fear and curiosity. "I saw her near the old stream," Ifeoluwa continued. "She was speaking to the water like she did with that evil bowl." A murmur spread through the crowd, a mix of disbelief and dread. The elders, including Adekunle, gathered to discuss the situation. "We must confront her," Adekunle said firmly. "If Mama Funke has truly returned, we cannot let her bring darkness to our village again. We must find out her intentions and stop her before it's too late." That night, a group of brave villagers led by Adekunle ventured into the forest. They carried torches and protective charms, prepared for whatever they might see or face. As they approached the old stream, they saw a faint glow in the distance. They moved carefully, their hearts pounding with every step. When they reached the path, they saw her. Mama Funke stood by the stream, her back to them, speaking in low tones to the water. She no longer looked like the powerful woman they remembered. Her hair was wild, her clothes tattered, and her face was etched with sorrow. The villagers were taken aback. She looked more like a lost soul than a fearsome witch. Mama Funke, Adekunle called out, stepping forward. What have you returned for? What do you want from us? Mama Funke turned slowly, her eyes filled with a sadness they had never seen before. I have not come to harm you, she said, her voice soft and broken. I have come to seek forgiveness. I was wrong, and I have paid dearly for my sins. The villagers were skeptical. Why should we believe you? A man shouted. You cursed us once before. What stops you from doing it again? Mama Funke raised her hands in surrender. I have no magic left, she said. The bull's destruction took everything from me. I have wandered in the woods for years, lost and alone. I seek only to make amends. The villagers brought Mama Funke back to the village, where the elders decided she will face a trial. The village square was filled with people the next day, all eager to see what fate awaited the once fearful food vendor. The elders, including Adekunle, sat in a circle, their eyes stern and contemplative. We have heard your plea, said Baba Orumila, who had led the villagers in breaking the enchantment years ago. But forgiveness is not easily given. You caused much pain and suffering to our people. She bowed her head. I know, she whispered. I was consumed by greed and power. I took what was not mine, and I harmed those who trusted me. I cannot undo what I have done, but I wish to atone for my sins. The elders conferred amongst themselves. After a long discussion, they agreed that Mama Funke would be allowed to stay in the village, but only under certain conditions. She would not be permitted to cook or sell food again, and she would live at the edge of the village, where she could be watched. More importantly, she would have to perform acts of service to repay her debts to the community. At first, many villagers were wary of Mama Funke's presence, but as time passed, they saw her working tirelessly to earn their trust. She tended to the sick, helped with the harvest, and cared for the elderly. Slowly, the people began to see her not as a threat, but as someone who was genuinely remorseful. One day, a terrible illness swept through the village, and many fell ill. The village healer was overwhelmed, and it seemed there was no end in sight to the suffering. Mama Funke, who had been quietly helping in the background, stepped forward with a suggestion. There is a herb that grows deep in the forest, she said. It is rare, but it has powerful healing properties. I know where it can be found, but the journey is dangerous. Despite her lingering mistrust, the villagers knew they had little choice. They allowed her to lead a small group into the forest. The journey was perilous, and they encountered many challenges, but Mama Funke's knowledge of the forest proved invaluable. She guided them safely to the herb, and they returned to the village with enough to treat everyone. As the herb began to work and the sick recovered, the villagers started to see Mama Funke in a new light. Her actions during the crisis spoke louder than any words she could have said. She had put her life on the line to save them, and for the first time, they truly believed in her desire for redemption. From that day on, she was no longer seen as an outcast, but as a living testament to the power of redemption. The tale of Mama Funke and the enchanted bowl continued to be told, but with a new ending, one of hope, forgiveness, and the possibility of change. And so Ijebu-Ode prospered, not just in wealth, but in spirit, forever changed by the lessons learned from a woman who had once walked a dark path but found her way back to the light.